The art of war is deception. And in this modern age, if you can fit it in a Twitter blurb, it's the truth. And so I want to cover here the truth. Truth is, Tua is an elite. Truth is, he can't carry a pass-heavy offense. Okay. Truth is, McDaniel's not good enough. I know now, I hear the cries that he had one semi-competent game, and it's poor him, he's strapped with Tua. No. Greer is not good enough. He built a terrible framework. But here's more of the truth. How many of the gurus out there told you Greer was cooking, told you Tua was going to lead us to victory this way, and he was great? I've never said that. I've said he's 7 to 8 in the right framework. He's a system quarterback. And how many told you that McDaniel was a genius? How many told you the offensive line's not a big deal, and every year the offensive line is good? How many people told you that the build over the last 3 years was a winner, or 4 years was a winner? How many people told you Brian Flores had dead bodies in the basement? And it's not that he was, Mr. Perfect, but understand that he wasn't the problem, end-all, be-all. So I have told you other things. Doesn't mean I'm always right. But I have been ahead of the curve on a lot of things. And my modus operandi is to be honest and to be accurate for my viewers. It's not clicks. It's not to follow the easy trend. My sponsors want the clicks and all that stuff. So I want to cover here, Tua is Tua. He is what he is. He's got a little bit of the yips, and if you put too much pressure on him, it becomes a lot of yips. He can't throw the deep outs enough to take. He's shown a little more mobility, but he's not super mobile, and he's kind of short, and he's got an injury history. But I'm going to show you the game comparing Allen to Tua to show you the framework. I'm going to show you Allen's framework in 22 where people are making fun of him to what it is now. I'm going to show you, remember Tannehill? If we only got rid of Tannehill, he was holding us back. We got Tua, he's a savior. Well, look at Tua, Tannehill in 2016 and look at him with the Titans. It's framework. And depending on the quarterback, more framework is needed. But even the great Allen Fin fans, were laughing at him 2 years ago with all those boneheaded picks and turnovers. But what was it then and what is it now? This isn't to justify Tua. It's to say that Greer and McDaniel gave a 180-pound guy the job of a power lifter, Olympian power lifter who's 350 pounds. And it wasn't smart. But we were told that it will be a success. But I've been saying here, a lot of you have been saying here, like, this is not the right framework for the kid. It's clear. You can look around the league. You could take quarterbacks. Donald saw ghosts. Mayfield had too small of an arm. Donald was crazy eyes. He couldn't cut it. Goff, he was a choker. He was an idiot. But when you get smart people, GMs and coaches, and get talent, you could take guys with flaws and get more success out of them. It doesn't mean you can go to the Super Bowl. But I'll show you Dan Marino's postseason success. I'm going to go through a bunch of graphics. It's not to say Dan sucks. He's the best quarterback of the game. But he was given too much, poor framework, and it cut short one of the greatest talents in the NFL. And why am I doing this? Again, to show you, because the tide, the hustle is starting again. And if you fall into Tua is the worst, he's our main problem, then they're going to sell you, we're going to pick a quarterback this year. It's all going to be good. And then if we get another crop of idiots or the same crop of idiots to run the quarterback, they're going to screw them up. Because if on the long shot, they find the right talent in the draft. You know how hard it is to find a good quarterback in the draft? And then when you get that one, to build around. Look at Burrow. Super talent. They built around him like a jackass. He's been beat up like a piñata. He went to the Super Bowl once. Other than that, he's had some nice passing yards one year and beat the hell the rest of the time. So it's a combo package. But it always starts with the team and the framework. Jake Delhomme went to the Super Bowl, and you say, well, he didn't win it. Well, we haven't won a playoff game in 20-something years. Wouldn't you like to at least go to the Super Bowl? It's not about the quarterback until you have two teams that are roughly similar, and then the guy with the better quarterback has the edge. But it's always about the teams. Or Josh Allen would have won a Super Bowl already. So I'm going to go through a bunch of graphics because we just got done with a hustle I called in 21, and I can feel the hustle starting again. And it concerns me. It concerns me that if they're the media and the Dolphins are behind a lot of this, and some of these content guys who've been wrong a ton are telling you it's all a quarterback, we need a new quarterback. Then when we draft one, it's going to be the hopium ride, the same BS. And then some of the basics of football, they're not going to be paid attention to. And the BS will start again. And you and me, because I'm a Fin fan, will get let down. And I'm a podcaster, and I'll have to fight the tide again. And maybe I'll have a stroke or something like that. So let's get into it. I'm not going to do my other thing. You know, I appreciate the likes and subscribes and all that stuff. But I want to get into this. So we were told, Tua, right here, this graphic, he's got a noodle arm, which he's not even close in the same. He's like 2 or 3 levels below Allen, surely. But you saw our defense get Swiss cheese. Look at the pass ratio where they were thrown for Allen. Mr. Super Duper, and he is. He threw 6 passes behind the line of scrimmage. We threw 8. We threw deeper. And the one over the top on 2 on the right-hand side, Hill caught that. What would it have looked like? He dropped that pass. He slowed down. He missed the angle. He jumped up and it bounced off his hands. Big play. And then he fell down on the one to the right. Would have been 20 a yard outer. So, but look at where Tua was throwing. He was throwing beyond 10. Allen had 2 passes beyond 10 yards. Tua had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8. So this was very much comparable. But obviously the talents aren't comparable. But let's look at the framework. And it's not to say if Tua, you'd have been a great, but you got a guy who's skittish. And then what do? You let him throw all day long and then have a Swiss cheese offense? I mean, it's like saying, hey, Superman, go fight Lex Luthor. Here, take a piece of kryptonite with you. A good coach hides the flaws and accentuates the strengths. What sane person would take a short quarterback who's got an injury history and not a big arm, and obviously a little bit of the yips, and say, hey, be damn real and throw all day? That's got to go back to leadership. Get rid of Tua, okay. But don't forget the keys behind that. They drafted him. They stuck with him. McDaniel's on thing. Well, I watched 10,000 of tape. You're great. Don't forget that. The hustle. That was a hustle. It was a media development for him to fly there and make you feel bad for Tua and make you feel like McDaniel was the hero so you could just forget about what happened with Flores and Ross lying to us and losing the picks. It's all starting again. Media hustle. So here's what happened. Tua threw the pick. It was a bad pick. Go look at the play. He had one guy open while everybody else was covered or not looking, and he had a 6'7" guy in his face. Guy's got the yips and tunnel vision. He sees a 6'7" guy. He sees the one guy open. He ain't paying attention to the linebacker. He should have taken a hit. He should have taken the sack and gone for the 3-point. But maybe McDaniel should have ran. to cover up the flaws. But it was clearly his fault. It's not that, but how do you get Brunskill get swum on by a 6'7" guy and he's not even stopped? It's a turnstile. So here's the graphic. To his clean time, 57%. That's the lowest I think I've ever seen. 2.16 seconds. Allen, 71%, 2.3 seconds. Pressure, 42%. Allen, pressure, 28%. And here, for the people who are not too savvy about football, because there's people out there who aren't, you want to know if the offensive line did good, go check the blitz rate, compare it to the pressure rate. Blitzes are where a lot of big plays come from. But if your blitz rate is lower than your pressure rate, that's not good, and the separation makes it worse. If the blitz rate is higher than your pressure rate, that means the offensive line was doing very good, and it was opportunities for the quarterback. This is not like debatable. So, look at the ratio here, okay? 2 is 42% pressure, and some of them might have been on him, but a lot of them weren't, and 26 blitz. That's 16%. That's huge. Look at Allen. Blitzed 53%. 28. 50% less pressure to blitz rate. Huge difference. Tua, 146 yards. Obviously not a fantastic day. 22 of 34. Allen, 213. 28 of 32. Pressures. Tua threw more and had double the pressures. Double plus 1. 13 pressures compared to 6. Run support. Tua did have some good run support, and that's why he was effective for a little while. 25 for 135.2, but then Allen, who's the better quarterback with less pressure, getting more blitz rate, have a higher clean time, 27 for 157, 5.8. So if you've got a guy who's here, which is Allen, and Tua, who's here, don't you think the surrounding performances need to be higher? How can you have a guy who's here and a guy who's here, and then you have the support around him like this? It's called leverage. No success. It's not to justify Tua. But guys, you're not asking Tattoo from Fantasy Island to go, go reach the top of the tree over there. I need to pick that apple. And then when he can't get it, you're yelling at him. So you have to be clear. McDaniel should have had a better game plan. It was pretty good, but it was pass heavy compared to the run. He should have kept on running, and he should have done it through the pass. And he told us this offensive line was fantastic. They benched Keon Smith for Brunskill. They went from second to third string. Greer spent a second and third on Jonah Savaiinaea, who had 6 pressures. And all the gurus out there who told you he was going to be awesome. There was a voice that said something different. I said, I don't like the way this guy handles power. And then I did a film study and said, what? You see how wide his stance is? His foot comes up and comes down, and then he takes his first step. This is insane. I don't know how you can let a player get out of here. It's going to be a tough season. Oh, no. Because I'm honest. I'm not smart. I'm just honest. I'm not following trends. So you've got a terrible offensive line for a quarterback that is a lower town who demands a better offensive line. But we'll go to Allen, who is the creme de la creme. And let's check his framework from 22 to now so we can understand that even the great ones, they need framework. We were laughing at Allen in 22. Look at all those turnovers. He got crazy turnovers. They were saying he was getting rattled. He'd never get it. I was covering the Bills, and I said years before, hey, guys, you need pass balance with this guy. You've got to get out of the fumble. A lot of Bills fans laughed. And then they put in the offense that I diagnosed because I saw that football was moving to pass balance. So in 22, he had clean time to throw 2.5, clean time to throw percentage, 66%. It went down to 236, but his clean time went up 1%. His pressures in 22 was 34%. When they changed over in 24, it went 32.5, went down. His blitz rate stayed about the same. But his rushing, he was throwing 33 times in 22. It dropped to 28 and 24. And they handed it more over to the running backs, put some off his plate so he wasn't the end-all, be-all. And he went from 2,300 yards, but minus his 800 yards, it was 1,500 by the backs. Next year, it was 22, 30, 70 less, but he was less of a quantity. They had 1,700, 200 yards more by the backs. Now this year, he's got a clean time to throw of 2.43. It's lower than 22, higher than 24, but the clean percentage is 73, higher than both of them. His pressure percentage is down to 26%. His blitz percentage is at 30, so they're blitzing more than they're getting to him, which is not good for a defense. And they're averaging 123 yards per game. His rush total has dropped. It's 114 yards over 3 games. A little bit more than he should be getting. But you can clearly see that the great Allen was putting too much on his plate. He was throwing too much. He was making mistakes. And they said, let's protect him better. Let's run the ball more. Take the ball out of his hands so teams have to focus on other stuff. And that's how he started to accentuate his great skills. But when they asked him to do what Tua's doing, the fumble style, yeah, he would win some because he's superstar, but he was getting beat up and then he began to be a turnover machine. And so Tua, who's much less, needs much more. And whoever we get after Tua is going to need something. You don't just pull an Allen or a Mahomes out of the sky. Just think about Dan Marino to Tua. You made fun of Tannehill. Let's look at Tannehill. All right, here's Tannehill with Miami in 2016. 61% clean time to throw. With the Titans in 2020, his first start, 69%. Pressure with the Dolphins in 16, 39%. Pressure with the Titans in 2020, 31%. Blitz rate, 30%. So he had 9% more pressure with the Dolphins in 16. With the Titans, he had 8% less pressure. His clean time to throw with the Dolphins, 2.26. Notice the quick time to throw, hiding bad offensive line. With the Titans, it went to 2.44. His attempts per game went up, but notice the difference. Now, some of you will say, well, in 2016, we had unicorns. Guys, we had 1,800 yards on the season, and in 3 games, we had like 700 yards. And so if you take that out of the equation, we were averaging 90 yards a game for the rest of the season, and we couldn't run the football in the postseason. Yes, 100%. Tannehill had the 2,000 yard of Henry that season in 20. But he's a very limited quarterback. I'd say he's more limited than Tua in the reads and the throws and stuff. I mean, he was more healthy, he was more mobile. He had like 500 yards that year. But he had some of the similar things, freezing up, but even more, even when it really wasn't any pressure. I think he's a little bit more limited, although he has certain assets different. But it goes to show you that if you got an offensive line, a quality coach, a good defense, and you can run the football, even low-end quarterbacks can get picked up. Go check Daniel Jones. He's throwing a lot less than he used to. Mayfield, Darnold. The framework sets the tone for all quarterbacks, but lesser quarterbacks, it makes it much, much more. Now, last little thing here, I had an argument with someone on Twitter, and it's like crazy. I don't even think he watched Dan Marino play. And I said, Dan Marino threw a lot of crazy picks because, he had to throw all the time, and you get aggressive because, you're behind, or you can't run the football, so it happens. But here's Dan Marino in postseason, 8 for 10. So out of 18 games, he was sub 500. And the red is postseason where he either threw equal interceptions to touchdowns or more interceptions than touchdowns. He had 4 years. Unbelievable. The 84, but he still threw 5 picks. A lot of that was, I think, the Super Bowl. 90, 52, 5-2, 92, 4-2, 94, 5-0. Great seasons. But he never had a run game. And when you got to throw in volumes, you have a tendency to get this when there's no balance. And so what is this all about? Is it because I love Tua, he's not at fault? No. I've been saying the same thing over and over for him. In 2022, when we destroyed the Broncos in 23, I told you this is not lasting because of who he is. Because the offensive line makes the NFL world go round, you need balance. The NFL cycle's shifting. How many of the gurus were telling you that? And it's not because I'm a genius. It's like basic stuff, but it doesn't sell. I'm not getting big clicks. Do you think anything I'm doing here is getting me big clicks? I'm constantly going against the grain because I have intellectual honesty and because I feel like a used car salesman to you if I'm lying to you. I'm not always right. But guys, understand, the sell is coming, the new hustle. It'll be wrapped around the quarterback. They'll draft the quarterback, and they can get substandard guys and then sell it to you with the wave of hopium from plenty of people out there. And then you'll be on the ride again. In 3 or 4 years, you'll be saying the same thing. You said it with Tannehill. You said it with Tua, and you'll be saying it again with this guy unless we get the right GM. Unless Ross, Chris Sims was talking about it. He's like, Flores, who he said he had issues, was trying to do this discipline thing, but there were guys around Ross who had power, whether it's Beal or Garfunkel or with the money guy, I can't remember the other guy's name, that had hands in the owner, and there was interference from this like group of guys above the coaching, above the GM, and the GM interfering underneath. And what GM of real high salt are you going to get with that? Maybe, I'm hoping, I'm praying, if we even move off Greer, who's to say we will. But you've got to understand this truth or else you'll be sold to hustle again. I'm praying we get the right GM. I'm praying we can get the right coach. I want to get off to. I'm tired of the injury ride, and I'm tired of the Tua on and Tua hater. And I just want him off the team because I'm tired of these conversations. I think he can have success someplace if he can stay healthy. I want a clean slate. I want to be hopeful. But given how much they've lied to us, I'm sorry, Eichenberg. I'm sorry, Austin Jackson. And Butch Barry, we trust. Greer is cooking. This is the best offensive line. This is the most cohesive team I've seen. On and on it goes. To Ross standing in front of you going, yeah, Tua's our guy if the next coach wants him. Meanwhile, he's got Peyton and Brady in the wings. They lie to you. Let's hope it changes, but you've got to stay on the ball. Tua is a symptom. He's not the root of the problem. And that's my job, is to be honest to you. I'm sure it's not a hot to try ticket, but I'd rather stop doing this thing than, like some of these people, play the hopium ball just to get clicks. So hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm crazy. But a lot of people said the same thing in 21, 22, 23, 24, and even 25 to me. We'll see. But I owe my allegiance to my viewers and to my intellectual honesty. Not always right, but what the hell else is there? Selling your soul for a few freaking clicks? Anyway, Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out.